Right, now we're going to carry on with Hosana. He's still sitting around, taking it easy. I think he's found himself a little shade. And so while we wait for him to come out, let's send you back across to James Henry, who I think is looking at a plant. I didn't hear Kirsty very well, but either way, you know James on Bushwalk. It will always be entertaining and interesting.
Well, I'll do my best. I must just say, you've obviously been having a wonderful time down at the waterhole there. It's one of those very rare afternoons at the moment that just has a feeling of perfection about it. Now, many afternoons out here are really astounding, but there's just a feeling about this afternoon that is quite... it makes me feel quite emotional, really. I'm not going to cry, don't worry, but there's a perfect little breeze blowing, there's temperature's gorgeous, the light is lovely. You've been watching a leopard watching elephants, and I mean, it's just gorgeous. And here we have the same plant I came to the other day, a beautiful smelling Ozaroa, and I thought I'd come and just see what else was living on it. And what we've got there is a netwing beetle. Can you see it there, Senzo? There you can see the little netwing beetle. And most of the sort of crab spiders seem to have disappeared. Although as I start to look more closely, I'm starting to see little spiders all over this plant. And the other thing we saw on the way here, which I thought I'd mention, because it might touch a nerve or ring a bell with some of you. Let's look at the next thing, Sens. I'm going to let this one go. Is a flower growing out of the middle of the road. So obviously the roads here are not paved, they're just little tracks that we drive along. But I always remember when I was living in the cities how inspired I used to feel by plants that grew up through the paving, grass and that sort of thing, because it just showed how temporary our human effects on the earth are, and that eventually nature will take over when we are long gone. And that just reminded me of that. This is called a fruit chaffer. And they come in all sorts of amazing colours and sizes, these fellows. The most magnificent being the regal fruit chaffer, which is green and white. This one's a bit of a bog standard fruit chaffer. The smell is fantastic. Albeit you say this plant looks like candy corn. It does rather, doesn't it? It smells exactly like jasmine. I feel taken back to my childhood in August and September, when the long Johannesburg winter came to an end and we used to go to the mountains. And there was an enormous sort of creeper of this stuff hanging down the side of the building of the place we used to go in the mountains. And it was always at the end of August, just as spring was starting. And this is exactly what it smelled like. Magnificent. So if you missed the name, it's called Ozaroa spherocarpa, or otherwise it is called a, what's it, resin bush, currant resin. And Regina, you say you completely identify with what I'm saying. When you visited the Sabi sands, the summer afternoons reminded you of warm, carefree childhood summer afternoons. Well, that's exactly how I feel. Look at this magnificent little spider. Oh my goodness, he is phenomenal. Did you see him, Sens? He's over here. Just there. You see him? He's the colour of toffee. He's a toffee-coloured spider. No idea what kind of spider he is. Very difficult for Sens all this because, of course, he's waving around the place in the wind. So we'll call him the toffee spider. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to keep checking this bush over the next little while. Now, I believe that Ralph's lion cubs have been eating mushrooms and toadstools, which is an unusual thing for lions to eat. One assumes that they would be able to taste if they were toxic. Let's go and find out from Ralph now.
Thanks, James. And, well, everyone, I just want to do a couple of little comparisons here, because we see these little cubs now all starting to drink, as they would do every day, lion cubs need to drink every day from their mom. Their milk is not as protein rich as, for instance, hyena milk is, because hyenas would be able to leave their cubs for up to 3 days in between drinks because of their very rich protein milk. Now, another difference that I want to also talk about is we see with the lions, now it's a little bit difficult with them being flat like this, but they've got that very white color underneath their eye, and that assists them when they are hunting at night to be able to reflect all the light into the eye. And if we look at cheetah, they've got that very predominant tear mark, which is black, and that's a very good indication that they're a daytime hunter. Why? They don't have that whiteness under the eye to reflect light into the eye. Instead, they've got black, which absorbs light because they hunt during the day, avoiding hyenas and lions. So very interesting to note the differences between them. And it's fascinating. And it's all survival strategies for different times of the day when they hunt. And obviously with lions, though, they wouldn't be needing to return every day, so they only leave their cubs for quite a short space of time, but they'll also leave them alone, which is quite dangerous because you could have hyenas or leopards or anything else coming through and killing those little cubs. Now, hyena don't do the same as that. They will always leave a babysitter at the den site, and so it's just very interesting to look at the different tactics for survival between the three. Now, I just want to say goodbye to all the viewers on the different platforms. It is time for you to leave us, but if you do want to continue watching Safari Live, remember just to Google Safari Live and you'll be able to watch it on many different platforms, but mainly on YouTube. So bye for now, and we'll continue with the rest of the viewers in a minute. Now, look out over there. They're just sitting up a little bit. The little cubs are still drinking from Mummy. And there's a bit of a yawn. Oh, and they're doing what lions do best. A little bit of a tail flick. This is often how we find lions, especially in the heat of the day. It's anyone's guess what these adults have been doing during the course of today. It has been rather cool, so there's every opportunity or possibility that they've been out hunting. It doesn't seem like they've got fat bellies, so if they were out hunting, they were probably unsuccessful. And so everyone, we still are totally enthralled by these little cubs, so we're going to stay here. And while we do that, let's head you on down south to James, who's got another very interesting arthropod.
I have got an interesting arthropod, and it's one that I have actually yet to find on my own. It is a flower mantid, this one found by Sensor on the same beautiful Ozaroa that I was showing you a little bit earlier. Now she's just a little bit nervous, of course, because I've picked her off her flower, but is she not the most perfectly formed little creature? Her little antenna buzzing in the wind, trying desperately to pick up scent or sign of what I want and why I'm attacked her. And last year, I remember around about this time last year, of course, we were doing our 7-week series, and we found a mantis, and I sang her a song, but I don't remember how it went, actually. It was called Matilda the Mantis. I was hoping that Kirsten in the final control would sing it back to me, but she won't. She says she doesn't remember it. All right, this Matilda can go back now. We're going to start making our way slowly back towards the waterhole at Juma, simply because we think maybe the elephants will come down to have a drink and something will come down there to have a drink. While we do that, Hosana apparently is looking for something in a hole.
He is indeed. He's back to the hole where we first started after a bit of a rest in the shade, and is quizzically looking down into that little erosion gully once again and hoping that whatever it is going to pop out. I somehow fear that... Oh, there we go. What has he got? Has he got it? It looks like he's kind of trying to get his paw in there. If it's a monitor lizard, he's going to get himself into trouble at some point because it's going to hurt if that monitor bites him on the nose. But let's see, maybe he pulls something out. You never know with Hosana. He is able to do all kinds of things. He's a bit like a magician and pulling rabbits out hats. He kind of is able to get in there. I wonder if he's got... No, still kind of trying to get in. Oh, yeah. He's got his nose deep inside that gully and his paw is going in as well. I just don't think he can reach whatever it is. I would love to be able to be on the other side to see. This is where we need Ronald to be able to drive Ronald up into that area, although I think it's a bit steep for Ronald. Ronald might end up in the drink if we drove it there, but it would have been interesting just to see what's going on inside that hole and how deep it actually is. Is there a monitor lizard hiding in there? Is there some sort of other animal that potentially is in this section? Hello, boy. There's the sun very bright. It's like he needs a pair of sunglasses while he's doing this hunt, because you can see this line of sun is just above his eye level. But how beautiful is this cat? He is looking so good, considering all that he's gone through over the last year. To be where he is and to look the way he does is absolutely phenomenal. He really is starting to look like a big boy. Tiny, you're wondering if it could be a mongoose. I suppose it could be, but it's a strange place for mongoose to be. Mongoose generally don't hide in these areas. Are you going to come say hello, Hosana? He's kind of walking right up to the side of the car. He's literally actually quite close to our tire at the moment. But I don't think it's a mongoose. We would find that if it was a mongoose probably would have scattered and there would have been more than one of them. Mongoose also don't typically spend much time close to water like this, especially a big water source and out in the open because of the number of predators. So you'll have things like... Oh, there's the side of the car. Are you going to sleep there, Hosana? Is that where you've decided you want to make friends with Jigger? Yes. So we're going to lie down right next to us, which is, of course, what Hosana loves to do. So there we go. He's making friends with Jigger, and that's as close as you could possibly be. We're so close, in fact, that we can get full kind of frame shots of his eyes and the spots on top of his head. So there we go. If we ever get a shot of his head again or his neck, those are the spots on Hosana's neck. Isn't that ridiculous? How cool is this? Hosana, are you happy there? I can't even actually see him with the naked eye. That's how close he is. He's literally lying right next to our left-hand tire. He's about, not even, I would say, 50 centimeters away from us. So there you go. You can see there, and even his feet are being cut off on the side of the car from where the camera is, and the camera points pretty much straight down. It is very cool to see. He's obviously missed Wiem and wants to come and say hello just to see how Viem's been doing. Nikki, I think I got the gist of your question. You're wondering, are there any more male leopards that we're not seeing on drive? Is that what the question was, Kirst? So yes, there are more male leopards that we are not seeing on drive. Many, many male leopards that we do not see on drive. But in the immediate vicinity that we're in, there is a male called Mfukazi, which is a male that is seen on Buffelshoek and has been seen on Simbambili, who looks like a slightly older individual. Then there's Anderson, who is to the west of us. There somewhere should be Shivambalana, Mishu, and Induna to the east, which would be all Karula's lineage and brothers to Hosana, but there haven't really been too many updates on those three for quite some time. To the south of us, we've got Kunyuma, which is again a brother of Hosana. So Karula's boys have really done well. They're kind of all in this section. So Kunyuma's to the south of us, known as Senegal Bushmale, where he is. And then there's a number of males on Singita, Londolozi, Mala, all to the sort of south and west of us, all over the place. So there's a number of different males that we don't see on live drives, but in our immediate vicinity, we've pretty much seen most of them. And the only one that I don't think we've ever had on camera out of all those ones that I've just mentioned is Mfukazi. That's, I think, the only one that we haven't seen. The rest of them we would have seen on camera at some point, most of them when they were much younger, but it's amazing the success that Kruger's had and how her male offspring have spread into this whole section and really taken over this northern section of the Sabi Sands. I mean, like I say, the most southern one of her lineage is Kunyuma, who's on Mala and down on the Sand River and is really doing really well down there. He's produced a lot of cubs already from what I gather, and is kind of taken over a nice portion of territory. And then you've got obviously Shivambalana, Mishu and Duna that pushed into the Kruger National Park to the east. There's Quarantine, there's obviously Hosana that is doing really well at the moment, and so she's really kind of produced great males that have become incredible individuals and very, very pretty individuals too. And so I hope Hosana is going to be another one like Quarantine or Kanuma that settles in an area where we'll still be able to follow him. But look at how beautiful those rosettes are. That is why one of the reasons why leopards are my favorite, is to be able to see those markings and kind of see it ghosting through the bush is always an absolute privilege. And to see one this close that we can literally zoom up to a single rosette is absolutely phenomenal. So there's a couple of other. How cool is that? We always got every single little hair in amongst the rosettes. Very special. Hosana, you are a very trusting cat. And this is the reason why people love Hosana, and this is it, is that he's just so relaxed and so just giving in terms of the amount of amazing things we've had from him already in such a short space of time. Now, Judy, you say he knows who his friends are. Well, I would hope so. It was quite interesting because when we arrived here, and it almost seemed like the same thing this morning with James. When James arrived, he was kind of just curled up, sitting there as if to say, James, where have you been? I was here on time and you were late this morning. Why weren't you here on time? And then, we came here this afternoon and we literally drove up onto the dam wall, and he was standing at attention. He was literally up and looking over the dam wall as if to say, who's here? I want to see who it is. Is it anybody that I know? And I wonder if he senses some sort of, I don't know, that he gets some sort of recognition in us and our vehicles, and the fact that he's followed them and that we've kind of been a part of his life ever since the beginning, that maybe that's why he's just so kind of relaxed, and when he sees these vehicles coming he just feels at ease or knows that we're coming. I don't know, it's an interesting situation. They are intelligent animals, and I think we should give them far more credit than we do. Now, Susie, you want to hop down and try and just take off all the ticks that are on him. I know, Susie, it's never nice when there's a few ticks on a cat, but it is part of life, particularly in the summer months after a bit of rain. We do get a lot of ticks, and that's why you've seen a lot on the Inkuhumas, and even Hosana has got a few ticks on him, but he'll be able to clean them off. They are really grooming themselves. Leopard are meticulous about it. They take a lot of time, and we saw this morning how he was able to scratch them off. Right, now I believe I need to send you across to Noel, who's got a beautiful landscape to show you.
We do. We've got a beautiful landscape with a nice bright blue sky and some teeny tiny puffy white clouds. A beautiful breeze is coming through. And we are sitting here waiting for a big herd of buffalo. We caught a quick glimpse of them. They're still just over our northern boundary, but they're moving in our general direction. So basically what we've done is we've parked ourselves so that we can see all the way around for when they come out. And there's a sort of drainage line that's just in the back here, and I can hear the oxpeckers that are going. So they're on their way. And it would be nice for us to see some buffalo. It would be also nice for them to move over back into the Juma property, and possibly for then the Inkuhuma pride to come back and join us back on Juma. They've gone to the west, and we would like to have them back here so that we can see them. Now, it's a little bit of a waiting game, but I think that they will pop up in the next few minutes or so if they behave accordingly. And I think while we're waiting here, let's head on up to Ralph with his cute little lion cubs and see what they are up to.
Look at this, everyone. It's still, we haven't gone anywhere because this is just too precious to leave. And well, they're giving me a lovely send-off, just like Noel had a lovely sighting this morning with those leopards and the kills, and that was absolutely phenomenal. Well, this is why I guide, why I do what I do, because of these special moments. Spending time on our own now. Everybody else has had to go back for the curfew, and we are the only ones allowed out at this time. So very special for me, and very special that we have you with us watching these little lions, nobody else with us. It is fantastic. Still playing their games and always up to no good, grabbing the stick and then tackling each other, doing the little rabbit kicks. And you often see them going for the neck as well. So it's all that little training that they're getting the skills for later in life. And nice to see their little pads as well, all fresh. Wrestling match going on here. And it is too cute as well, because they play for a while and then, oops, they go to sleep. It's really like little children. They play, sleep, and then wake up, play. And every little piece of grass or a stick is the new toy. Really enjoying life. And it's great to see that, I mean, at this age, they're not worried about survival. That's all left to the adults to worry about. And they're curious about us as well. Keep on coming closer. Now, thanks for all your comments, everybody, because in the oohs and the ahs, I totally agree. It is so wonderful. Look at that. They're always looking at each other, trying to stalk up on the other one. There we go. Get him. Pile on. There come the rabbit kicks. And it's funny, they actually don't, they play so softly, they never really hurt each other. I think it's only when Mom presents her tail that they really go for it. First lady, you'd like to know if lion cubs are also born blind, like leopard cubs? Pretty much so, First lady. So that makes them altricial. So they're not precocial like some of the other animals that they're born with their eyes open and with all their hair and so on. They are born pretty much useless, almost like a human baby. And that's nothing derogatory. It's just that you get the two different survival strategies. One is to have babies that have their eyes open and ready to go very quickly, and that's like the antelope, like the zebra and the wildebeest and the impala. Literally within hours they are able to run with the herd and very quickly on their feet. It takes them a little bit of time, but it can be within an hour those animals are ready to go. Whereas lions and leopards, it takes a little bit more time, a little bit more motherly care for them to be able to actually get those muscles and their eyes open and for them to be able to do anything. And that's one of the reasons why the females will go into a den area, a very secluded spot, nice and safe, and the more experienced mothers will choose the better spots. And when they first have little cubs, they can sometimes choose the wrong area, and then they can fall foul to hyena and leopard and any other predators per se as they go off hunting and leaving those cubs in an exposed area. So they learn as well from experience, and the more experienced the mother, the more chance there is for survival. But where we've got this, it's 4 females that are with these cubs, and there's another one off in the distance. Seemed like she was looking for some warthogs or anything that was walking through, but these mommies now are taking very good care of their cubs, and it's grooming time, it's drinking time, and it's also playtime. You see Mom there looking off, always just testing the air. Maybe there's a warthog or something that's moving towards them. They're opportunists as well, so even with these little cubs here, they would still go for a hunt if something presented itself. But you can see those 2 females, they're very relaxed at the moment, and these little cubs really enjoying themselves. But they, as I say, there's bursts of energy, and then they do go quiet. Now, Denisha, you want to know if the mothers will ever kill their babies? I don't know of lion females or lionesses ever killing their own babies. What I do know, however, is that in times of very low resources, when there's not enough food, not enough water, they may abandon them. And I've seen that happen. It's very sad, but at those times the mother has decided, well, she's not even surviving herself, so off she goes. And it's almost ruthless, because she then obviously needs to gain condition again if the resources increase, and then she potentially mate and have another litter. But I've never seen mothers killing. It's mostly the males and new males that come in and override an older male that was been around, and they chase him off, and then they'll do that infanticide. infanticide. But I think with the motherly love that they have, it's only when the conditions are really dire that they will actually leave them, but not kill them. So they'll then be left to potentially be killed by anything else. So everyone, this has been absolutely fascinating, but we're going to stay here and see what happens. Maybe there's a hunt. While we do that, let's send you off to James, who's enjoying his afternoon stroll.
I'm most certainly enjoying my afternoon stroll. We've come to the Juma waterhole on the request of one of you who wants to see, I think, the brown-headed parrot's nest that we found the other day, so that's where we're going. This is all that's left of the vast Juma waterhole. Not a great deal. And it hardly filled up in last year's rains. It hardly filled up at all this year. In fact, I don't think it's filled in the slightest. Unlike Buffelshoek Dam, which has really got quite full. Quite how, I don't know, because the catchment for this is far larger than that for Buffelshoek, so I really don't understand how this one is so small still. But I guess the rain is just so isolated. Let's go across to the nest now, if we can. Poor old Sensor's going to fall over his feet because he has to watch the camera, not me. Oh, I mean, not the floor. There we go. See, he's fallen. What's that? You fit in the elephant's feet. That's, you're just pointing out that he could fit entirely into an elephant's foot. And I don't know if the damn camera can see us. Can the damn camera see us, Kirsten? Or is it looking at some wildlife? Oh no, they don't have it on the TriCaster, which is a very complicated piece of equipment. Oh, there's a nyala. He's just going into the bushes there. And that's the sound of a very startled and tail spurfowl flying away. Did you get him? He's gone in there. And many of you apparently discussing the drought in Cape Town. It is seriously a dire situation. I don't think people realize, especially those who don't live in Cape Town, and especially those who live in an area where you can still turn on a tap and water will come out of it. I don't think there's a realization for quite how dramatically seriously things will escalate if water disappears. As they say, the next great war will probably be fought over water, and let's hope it doesn't start there. Okay, Noelle has managed to have some real success. Let's go across to her now.
Finally, so while we were sitting waiting for our buffalo to come out, we could hear some impala's alarm calling. So we sat and waited, and Rexon, he's just lying in the shade here, Rexon went to follow up on the impala alarm calls, and look who we have found. Nope, not Rexon in the background as a guest, but it's Hukumuri, that big male leopard that we saw live on the show this morning. He's not far from where he killed that warthog, but he is far from where he killed the steenbok. And he seems to be sniffing around looking for something else to eat. I really don't think that he managed to get that warthog back from those hyenas that we saw earlier this morning. And it is still quite warm, although not as warm as before. So he's definitely on the hunt for another meal. You can see him panting and moving his whole body. That helps him relieve a lot of that heat. Yes, he's got a nice big thick neck, this male. Beautiful male leopard. Now don't forget we are live and interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We're on the YouTube chat and we love your questions. Oh, Paula, thank you for the giggle. You're saying chicken medicine. Exactly. So Hukumuri means chicken medicine in Shangaan. It is not the most stately name for a leopard, but it's a good name to have a chuckle over. And I believe Tristan has told you the story about how he was named after a river line, a drainage line south from us, but that there's been a lot of talk around the fact if he is actually Hukumuri female's son and not another male. And I believe the story is that he was misnamed. And he is not, in fact, that son. Maybe we can give him a nickname on Safari Live. All right, we're in a funny little position. What I would like to do is just... Oh, some Egyptian geese are yelling at us. I just want to move forward and around a little bit. If you all wouldn't maybe mind letting me do that. And while we are busy doing that, why don't we head over to another leopard, a much younger leopard, to Tristan and Hosana.
Well, indeed, a much younger leopard, and a leopard that's going to have to be very, very careful about Hukumuri's presence, because if Hukumuri starts to move in this direction, well, he's got a lot of issues to deal with then, Hosana, and it's not going to be the same response that he's gotten from Tingano, that's for sure. But it's going to be interesting. I think it's a long way for Hukumuri to move all the way down towards Chitwa, and he's still very far from this area and hasn't yet showed any intention to move this far just yet, but you never know. Now, talking about his name, obviously it's a ridiculous name in terms of what it actually means. Chicken medicine sounds completely out of context, but it's actually got a little bit of a backstory to it. So it's not just chicken medicine as in that's what it is. It comes from a plant that they feed to chickens when chickens are not well, apparently. So there is a plant that is called the Hukumuri plant, and it was kind of given that name because apparently it helps when chickens are not feeling or not doing well for whatever sickness they may have. And that's why they fed it to them. And because that plant often grows in places where there is water and drainage lines, I don't know which plant it is. We're still trying to find out exactly which plant it is, but we're told that it's kind of grows in drainage sections, so I'm keen to find out which one it is. But because of that, a drainage line that comes out of the communities and into the Sabi sands was called the Hukumuri drainage, and it's because of that reason. It's probably because the plant grew there, and that was then fed to chickens back in the day, and that's how it was named. His name doesn't come because of that plant. It doesn't become because of chickens or anything else. It was because it was from an area that they perceived him to come from, even though that is also not true as well. Now, curious when, Chris, if you can repeat what name you thought of something. I didn't catch the exact name that you said. The go-away leopard. Well, yes, I believe many of you want him to go away. Funny enough, I want him to go away from a point of view of Thandi and the cub and various other things, but I actually quite like him. I know this is going to shock a lot of people, but I think he's something about him. He's a bit of an edgy character. He's got a little bit of something to him, and I like the way that he looks. He's got a bit of fierceness to him and a bit of kind of, I don't know, there's something about him that I quite enjoy. And if it weren't for the fact that we had so many cubs around, I wouldn't be that sort of opposed to him arriving in this area. You're always going to have new males. As long as he doesn't push down towards Hosana, I'm quite happy for him to take that sort of northwestern block, and if Tingana can control the eastern side and keep Thandi safe, well, then that's all fine. Now, there you see a beautiful little bee-eater. So the little beast has just flown away as well. Now, James Richard, you say you guys have nicknamed him the Hulk on his group. Well, yes, I suppose Hulk would be quite a good name for him. He kind of gets a bit foamy at the mouth like the Hulk does sometimes. As long as he doesn't turn green and start kind of throwing people around, he'll certainly be all right. But it seems to fit him a little bit more than chicken medicine. Chicken medicine just doesn't really go well when you talk about a rosetted cat. Right, Hosana is just taking in the view and is absolutely loving being out on Chitwa Dam more than just watching what's going on. And I'm sure James Henry is looking very much like Hosana and is reclining watching the sun going down.
I was just thinking that before he said it. I think I'm feeling exactly like Hosana. I'm sitting on a log watching the sunset next to Senzor here, beneath the brown-headed parrot's nest, in which there don't seem to be any brown-headed parrots at the moment. But I couldn't imagine a log that I would rather be sitting on, both in your company and, of course, in that of Senzor's. Now, while we look at the sunset there, some fellow called Dirty Wazoo has contacted us, well, not contacted us, he's tweeted us, and said that he thinks the drought in Cape Town is fake. Well, Dirty Wazoo, I can assure you it isn't. It is very real, and, in fact, the earth is round, not flat. As evidenced by the way the sun moves through the atmosphere. Isn't that wonderful? I'll tell you what it smells like. It smells very fresh because there was wind, not wind, there was rain yesterday. There's just a slight flush of green grass after the warmth today, so there's that kind of fresh grass smell. Ubiquitous slight tang of ungulate dung around the place, which I find quite comforting. And then slowly the evening sort of starting to take hold and the birds starting to quieten down. I think we should just watch that sun disappear below the horizon there. Something very comforting about watching the march of the seasons, and how, you know, even 3 weeks ago when we came out and ended our drives at 6:30, the sun was still relatively high up. And now, just ever so slightly, you're starting to notice a difference as it goes down slightly earlier. We're still a long way off anything like autumn or winter, but there's something comforting about the regularity of the movement of our Earth around the sun and its tipping axis, which of course gives us winter and summer. Unless you believe the Earth is flat, in which case, well, I don't know how you explain the seasons. Jersey Lady, you very kindly have asked how Ronald is doing. Now, I don't know if you were watching our TV show today, but Ronald had a bit of a run-in with Hosana. You know, we've driven Ronald up to Hosana a few times, and he's barely reacted. He's given him a little bit of a paw once or twice and then left him alone. And then Tingana we watched feeding next to a duiker, and he didn't even look at Ronald at all. And that's where we thought Ronald would go, basically, and that he would be able to achieve shots like he had with Tingana the other day. But today we are going to certainly have a discussion about Ronald and his general attitude, because he caused a reaction from Hosana, and Hosana actually took his wheel off, and then he was holding his Ronald's track in his mouth, and that's really not what we want at all. And so we either need to habituate more carefully to something like Hosana and just maybe approach with much more caution and until he becomes thoroughly bored of Ronald, or we need to try and modify the robots so that he can't get hold of it. He might come and sniff it and take a perfunctory bite and then leave it alone. But the kind of, I suppose, gimmicky fun of having the leopard come up and hit it with his paw and turn him over and that sort of thing, really, yes, okay, it was quite funny when we first started doing it because it was interesting to see how the animals would react, but I feel like we've kind of got past that, and so we're going to have a discussion about how Ronald is deployed in future, and certainly it's not fair to have him shedding his shoes, as it were, for the leopards. Now, Ralph is still sitting in the Masai Mara, where it's an hour later than it is here, if you can believe it, which makes it 7:15 in the evening. It's in the dark, and he is viewing lion cubs in infrared.
Yes, and everyone, we've changed into infrared because it's a lot different here in Kenya. It's a lot darker now. The sun has set quite a while ago, so it is almost pitch dark, and these lions have gone on the move. This little youngster, however, is a bit of a straggler, trying to catch up now with the rest, and they're disappearing a little bit off into the grass. I might need to move forward just so that I can potentially get a bit of a closer look on them. Go a little bit forward. I just need to be very careful that there's not any little cubs just in the grass here. So I'm keeping my eyes open. I might even just switch on my light just to be sure. Don't want to bump into any of them. Keeping their safety in mind. And there's another female in front of us. So let's just get a little bit off onto the side and maybe we can see where they're going. Okay, so while we try and get a little bit closer to these lions, let's head you on back to South Africa and Noel with a leopard on the move.
I have a leopard making a move, that's for sure, and I have to share a story with you all as we watch this indecent footage of Hukumuri. I've got Jandre with me, and Jandre and I like to sing when we're on the car, and Jandre was singing Soft Kitty just now, and it's making me laugh really, really, really hard, and now I can tell all of you are doing Soft Kitty in your heads as well. Yeah, it's you gotta have fun out here. You definitely have to have fun. So he's decided to come out on the road, and he did a little bit of scent marking. Now he's just had a bit of a bowel movement, and it looks as if he's definitely eaten something more than that steenbok that we saw earlier. I am going to try and move forward so that we can keep him in view. We've got Rexon and his guests in the background there, joining us in our sighting. Well, he found them, so we are joining him in this beautiful sighting. Now, some of you have said that you are going to rename this male leopard the Go Away male. And then I believe James Hendry said that you're going to call him the Hulk. So he's getting a few nicknames. That's quite nice. Oh, sorry, James Richard. James Richard, you're calling him the Hulk. James, I like it. That's a beautiful screenshot, everybody. I don't know if you managed that there. When he turned his head a little bit to the right. We've got some nice light that's filtering through. From the background, it's going to be sunset shortly. Now he's stopped. He's spied something. He's looking. He's decided, nope, not for me. He's going to carry around the backside of that termite mound. And then once we lose view, I'm just going to move around so that we can try and keep him on screen as long as possible. Now, this morning during show, he was in this exact same area. This is where he went after he killed the warthog and then stashed it and then was sniffing around. So he seems to be making figure eights and loops. And if you all have been watching with us for a while, Tristan had the same problem with Hukumuri for days. Nancy Drew, you'd like to know if we collect leopard scat for Panthera. Nancy Drew, we don't collect the leopard scat, but we do give them movements of lions when we see them. Some of the research I used to do with lions, I would collect their dung after they had had a kill to collect genetic material, but I haven't had to do that with leopards. I do know that obviously Panthera does it, as well as some other places, but right physically where we are on Juma, as far as I know, Panthera is not doing any active research where they would need that scat with them. It's very stinky when it's fresh like this, by the way. All right, let's head up to Kenya, to another cat, one of Africa's 3 largest cats, to Ralph and his lions, who are also on the move, and we're going to move around and get another view.
And look at this, everyone. The adult females, they've disappeared off. But these youngsters are following up quite slowly. And they're also playing the stalking game. Look at that. And there's a very small little youngster who's just coming past the vehicle now, trying to catch up with the rest. You're going to see it burst out onto the road now. He doesn't want to be left behind. And I always do get a little bit scared for the little ones like this, because that little bit of calling like that could attract the attention of a hyena who would very quickly come in and kill it. Dale, you want to know if with those little ones, if the mom could stay behind, or the male could stay behind with the youngsters. Generally, the males won't stay behind with the youngsters, but every now and then you can have one of the females that might stay behind with them. But it's very obvious when they do want the youngsters to stay behind. They normally get up and walk with real intention. But sometimes the little ones don't really listen. They maybe haven't seen their mommies for the whole day, and then they are very attached and they don't want to leave mom. And we had that the other day where it was very obvious the females wanted to go off hunting, but the youngsters didn't want to listen, and so they continued off with the moms, so they didn't get the hunt that they wanted. But anyway, it seems these lions have disappeared off into the grass, so let's head you on back to Noel in South Africa, and I think she might still be with that leopard.
Everyone, this is the screenshot. That other screenshot was beautiful, but this is gorgeous. Hukumuri having a drink at one of the little seasonal pans that's filled up after that beautiful rain we had last night. I think this will be a good time to take possibly our moment of silence. This is too good to give up. Okay, well, the moment of silence didn't work. We have neighbors. Guys. That's okay. So basically where we're sitting to be able to get the best photography is Rex and I are sitting right next to each other, and this is just such an amazing sighting that obviously we want everybody to enjoy as well. So we got a little bit of a moment of silence there, and we will definitely do another moment of silence. I can also hear cameras going in the background, and I'm itching for my camera, but as you all are so kind to me every day, I know you'll send me through some screenshots. Eric, really good question. Leopards can definitely get mange. Any of the wildlife, mammal wildlife that we see out here can get mange. It is a parasite. The scarcopic mange is the one that we get here, that one that you would see with the Styx pride. And the parasite burrows down into the follicle of hair at the base there by the skin, and then causes a great amount of infection and itchiness, and then the itching causes more infection, and then obviously the mange carries on. Now you can get rid of mange, as you've seen with the Styx, they're not looking as bad, but if your overall health is not good, then the mange won't necessarily leave you. And that mange, that scarcopic mange that comes over, actually comes from domesticated animals like dogs and cats. So proximity of wildlife areas to proximity of human inhabited areas leads to wildlife having things like mange. Great question, Eric. I can actually hear him drinking just a little bit, but I think it's a bit too far. It's just a tiny little lap. Oh, you guys can hear it as well? That's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, James has a moment for all of you. Maybe we can do our peaceful moment with him there with the sunset as Hukumuri finishes up his drink.
Well, what's astounding is that we've given you 2 sunsets, if you can believe it. Such bonuses do not come normally for free. And here we are, watching the sun going down again on quarantine clearings, which really do need another name. For one should not be watching the romance of a sunset like this and talking about things like disease and quarantine. I'm not sure what we should call it. But I don't think quarantine should be it. Ah, magnificent. Scarlett, do you want to know how far we've walked today? Not very far, Scarlett. We've probably only walked about maybe 2 miles. We kept finding little insects today. It was a really nice kind of small thing walk. And over the course of the TV shows, of course, the focus has been trying to find elephants and, you know, tracking the leopards so that we knew where they were in the mornings. And today has been a much more relaxed, enjoyable, for me, certainly, look at the smaller stuff where there hasn't been any pressure to find anything large. I say that now, but I've just seen a fairly large elephant that is going to block our way home. He's over there. We might have to request assistance in order to get home. Okay, well, that's going to be it from us, everybody. Let's go back to Hukumuri-san for the rest of the drive.
So he's had his bit of a drink, and now he's going to have a nice rest next to this seasonal pan. So we can get a nice long look at him. And there's a beautiful reflection. Thank you for that, Jean-Dre. That is gorgeous. Beautiful reflection in the water there. I'm really enjoying this male. I know that it's hard. I don't want anything to happen to... Sorry, I'm just going to wait for these guys to move out. I also don't want anything to happen to Tundi's cub. And I would like Tingana to stick around. I really enjoy Tingana. But it's nice to see a new face, and it's nice to see a face with such a crazy character. That one eye on his right-hand side that sort of sinks in. And the fact that he's sort of sitting here with his tongue sticking out like that. He really is the thug of our area. Bobby, you're saying you're not ready for the drive to be over? You're putting that in capitals. Bobby, I agree. I definitely agree. We've had a nice drive. We've also had excellent TV shows and excellent drives this past week. We've had some really, really, really great sightings. I'm also not ready. We've got that beautiful sunset that's coming through. We've got our male leopard that's sitting here. But don't worry, Bobby, we're also going to be back tomorrow at a 5:30 our time till 8:30, and twice a day. Oh no, sorry, tomorrow morning we're not back tomorrow morning. I'm so sorry. That was a mistake. Tomorrow morning we don't have show. Tomorrow morning we have off. Tomorrow afternoon we have show, and show will be at 3:30 our time. I'm sorry about that. Please excuse me. I'm so used to the double shows. So it's 2:30 Kenyan time, which is, I believe, 3:30 our time, Kirst, yeah? I think so. Oh, the other way around. So 2:30 our time, which is 3:30 Kenyan time. Thank you, Kirsty. Sorry about that. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for a lovely afternoon, myself and Jandre, and from James and Tristan and Ralph and the Mara. We hope that you enjoyed, and we hope that you'll join us tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be another epic adventure into the bush in Africa live.